What's up guys, and welcome to another episode of El Jardín Prieto. Today we'll be pruning a peach tree. Alright guys, so behind me you'll see a peach tree. You'll probably see in one of my other videos I pointed out that it was almost dormant. It's got a few leaves hanging on, but ironically it's already blooming like the week into its dormancy. So it is ideal to do this while they're in dormancy, but you can also push it and kind of do it right before the buds push. Right now is probably prime time. I did a little bit of pruning. I put this in last year. So I would recommend your first year, you just let the roots settle, do what it needs to do. I wouldn't worry about cosmetics so much the first year. As we're getting into the second year, I did prune a little bit last year, but I'm seeing some things that I want to take care of now. So all that growth gets pushed in the areas that I want them to be pruned. So there's a few different ways to train trees, like apples and pears and stuff. You really want a central leader, whereas peaches and stone fruit, you're going to want an open center, and I'll show you guys that a little more. I'll show you guys what we have and what we're working with real quick, but you'll see that it's already kind of open pruned. I did establish that a little bit last year. So as you guys can see, we have pretty much an open center here. I really don't have to do all that much. The only thing I did really want to take care of is this right here. It's kind of competing a little bit with the other branches, and it's kind of starting to form its own central leader. If I take care of that, it's going to push growth outward this way. So if we kind of back out, I want that canopy to go in all these other directions. It's doing really well on this side. I want it to push this way a little bit too. So really for this, all I'm going to need is a handsaw and some pruners. If it were really high up, which I don't want this tree to get really high up, I'm probably going to come in with a ladder at the top things at least so that the canopy is kind of even. But the main objective here is to take care of this. Another side note, I'll show you guys a close-up of some of these potential blossoms, but if you're not familiar with thinning the fruit, that's just something that comes along with fruit trees and peaches. It's going to be really productive. It's going to put off a lot of flowers. Not all of them will be pollinated, but the ones that are, eventually I may have to thin the fruit anyway to get a nicer, bigger fruit yield. So as you guys can see, every single branch is loaded with potential blossoms here. And that's throughout the entire canopy. We actually have one blossom right here. A little early. We're still in late January, so hopefully we don't get any freezes to take this out. Alright, so like I said, it may be a little painful to watch, but we're still going to get plenty of fruit even if I take this out. Right now the tree's in kind of a dormant stage, so it's a good time to do this. But like I said, we're going to push growth outward here. Because once it breaks out of dormancy, once we get some fruit during the summer, it's going to grow a lot. So I should probably bring you guys a little closer in to see exactly. I'll show you what the cut looks like after I make the cut. But really, I'm not going to go completely flush with the trunk, but I'm going to go like a few millimeters away from it, but pretty close to the trunk. We're just taking our time, making sure we're not splitting anything. As I'm getting closer to the edge of the cut, I'm not going to just tip it over and risk splitting anything or tearing off excess bark. I'm going to kind of hold the weight of this branch and finish through with a clean cut. So with all this, I can either save some of this as scion wood, ship some out. This is a Tropic Snow peach, by the way. It does well in lower chill hours, hence why we're already getting blossoms. I can also propagate some of this, but yeah, I'm gonna hang on to that. So as you guys can see here, that's a nice clean cut. It's not flush, but it's close enough. Okay, while I'm here, I had a little stake here that I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of. That was to train things earlier on. Now it's on its own. It doesn't need that. One thing you want to do is, this is dead. You know, anything that's dead, you can cut off nice and flush. This has a lot of potential crisscross, so although I like it, you got to get rid of that. For the most part, this is very open. These are fruit spurs. They're not going to really interfere with each other. This is one of those dead ones. I have a failed graft here. Yeah, it happens. And for the most part, you're really only going to want to mitigate things that are competing with each other, crisscrossing, but since I've already established this open center, I don't have a lot of that going on. The open center is more so things can breathe, things are getting sunlight, but mainly, yeah, so things can breathe. You have a lot more open sunlight when you have that open center. The other factor is there may be things potentially problematic. You can see them, you can take care of them. I'm seeing things with potential, like these two branches, but I'm going to go ahead and let things fruit this year and probably take care of that next year because they're not really big branches. Another thing is when you're pruning, you don't want to take out like, you know, more than 25-30% of the tree. So it's good to do it often, every spring or winter. If I didn't keep up with this and I had to, you know, do some really crazy cosmetic overhaul on this, it could be detrimental to the tree. So at this point, I guess I'll pan up and show you guys that I'll probably nip the canopy just a little bit on the top, just to keep things short and reach, and also encourage some more branching. So this side looks pretty good. I'm going to leave it alone. This is a side that I really want to encourage to start growing out more. This isn't specifically pruning, but I may, while this is nice and pliable, kind of train this, use some kind of a stake or something to kind of get this out of the way and start growing that way. If you guys saw my last video, this is a result of the jujube next to it. Its canopy shading it out a little too much, so it was growing away from that. Now that I've fixed that, I'm going to I'm going to have to train it this way a little bit. But let's go ahead and prune some of these other tops. So I'd say this is kind of our level. So I'm going to just kind of go with that. And some of this is just preference, guys. This is a nice height for me. Alright, while I'm with you guys, since I don't really have to do this right now in this scenario, I did want to share with you certain things you may need to do. So if you are training and you want branches to go a certain way, say you want an open center, this is just kind of a micro version. If I top this here, right above here, you're going to get this branching out, so maybe in the early phases you can pick, say, 3 to 4 branches that you want, you know, or say maybe you only want 3 going out this way. And then the following year, you can do the same thing to kind of train things up as they go along. Alright, so at this point, make sure I'm sturdy here. I'm just going to top all the way around here. This one's getting pretty out of hand compared to the other ones. That's okay. If I see any of these branches potentially competing, I may take care of that right now too. When you're having an open center, as long as they're not competing, it's okay for some to grow towards the center, especially if they're just fruit spurs. Alright guys, well this was a fairly short video. I wish I had a little more to show you. I can point you to a previous video where I pruned my multi-graft, although that's kind of like a different step. Same principle though. Stone fruits are all pretty similar in the way you're going to prune them. But the one thing you can take away from this video is the fact that if you keep it up, there's very minimal pruning that you'll need to do and minimal maintenance. Alright, well that's going to do it for today's video. Feel free to put comments below, or if there was anything that I missed, feel free to add something. And consider subscribing if you found this helpful. I do a lot of tutorials like this, as well as grafting and propagation and all sorts of stuff. Alright guys, well that's going to do it for today's video. As always, thanks for tuning in. Until next time.